Hello, welcome everyone, and thank you for coming here on this wonderful sunny day in Zurich. First of all, we want to say hello from the kind of like co-chairs of the Futurological Congress. My name is Mareike Dittmer. I'm a dedicated reader and writer, and I work for the Adrian Piper Research Archive Foundation when I'm not dealing with the future, and otherwise organizing a writer's residency up in Engadin in Switzerland and teaching here at the ZHDK. And my partner in crime for this is Julieta Aranda. You have your own.
Yeah, I have my own. So, hi, Julieta Aranda. I am, together with Mareike, we have been doing the Futurological Congress since the two of us are big Stanislav Lem fans and admirers and so on. We'll explain in a bit how that started. I am also an artist and one of the directors and founding members of eFlux, which is what I do when I'm not dealing with the future, with Mareike. So that said, let us get started. We get started by quoting some of the Futurological Congress original text. And so it goes. The 8th World Futurological Congress was held in Costa Rica. To tell the truth, I never would have gone to Nones if it had not been for Professor Tarantoga, who gave me clearly to understand that this was expected of me. He also said pointedly that space travel nowadays was an escape from the problems of Earth. That is, one took off for the stars in the hope that the worst would happen and be done in one's absence. And indeed, I couldn't deny that more than once I had peered anxiously out the porthole, especially when returning from a long voyage, to see whether or not our planet resembled a burnt potato. So I didn't argue the point with Tarantoga, but only remarked that really I was not much of an expert on futurology. His reply was that hardly anyone knows a thing about pumping, and yet we don't stand idly when we hear the cry, "Man the pumps!" That's an excerpt from the Futurological Congress, from the memoirs of Ijon Tichy, which is originally published in Polish in 1971.
Did you wanted to say some more about the LEM seminars?
Yes, actually, of course. In 2020, because of my big affection for Stanislav Lem, I was asked to organize the centennial of his birth in the form of an exhibition and educational project. Unfortunately, there was a pandemic in the middle, so what was supposed to be a big traveling project ended up in a series of seminars by way of Zoom. That was based on one of the most fantastic books of Lem, Summa Technologia, which is the more clairvoyant book ever. And I think because of that, we restarted the thoughts about the Futurological Congress with Mareike, since we gave one of those seminars together, the Nature's Indifference one. Mm-hmm. So,
thank you. So, as it become clear now from what we are saying, we have been dealing with this beautiful project, the Futurological Congress, for a while. Since we gathered in Warsaw in 2016 to launch the 9th Futurological Congress, the world had spiraled through a set of nervous patterns that back then we called a state of panic, and which we expected to pass. But instead of passing, the state appears to have settled in. So again, we feel the need to respond to the widespread uncertainty about what the future holds in the current times of contradiction, when we are facing both ecological crisis made and a widespread war, which is the biggest producer of ecological collapse there is. Thinking about the future is embedded in our nature. It is a byproduct of being aware of our own mortality. But when we look towards the future at this particular point in the narrative of our planet, we are facing the consequences of centering ourselves as the administrators and beneficiaries of everything on Earth, as if we, humans, were the only planetary actors that matter, and as if everything else around us were only resources to be deployed and exhausted in the name of human history.
It is at this juncture that the options that we currently have in stock to think about the future become insufficient. So this operation, the Futurological Congress, wants to start a different dialogue to elaborate on the possibility of many futures instead of the single narrative of possible catastrophe that is on offer at the moment. To think together about what the future in terms of multiple temporalities with simultaneous and contradicting narratives is a way to refuse the storyline of dystopia that dominates current dialogues about what the future holds. This is not because we are optimistic or because we hope to avoid the collapse of the planet, even though it would be great if we can avoid it. But it's mostly because even if collapse was to be imminent and unavoidable, a dystopian lens is nothing but a trap. Dystopia is not generative insofar as the only thing that it requires from us is a passive resignation to an unavoidable disaster, where we keep digging our own graves and lighting the way to the end of history with the energy from burning billion-year-old corpses. We hope to avoid the monolithic and insufficient heroics of dystopia by way of modest thinking, addressing the things that we want to create a future for, individually, carefully, thoughtfully, and most importantly, with imagination. Not a future with a capital F, but the many futures, contradictory, complex, interwoven.
We are challenged by technological risks and social inequalities. How to engage collectively, collaboratively in exercises for producing worlds by looking into futures to come? How can we counter the incapacitating effects of urgency and intensity and respond with a multitude of voices and potentials that can rise above the chaos? How do we share, care, and insist on making use of all the potential that art has to offer in resonance with all the temporalities, past, present, and futures? While there are many things that we are not able to imagine yet, we can at the very least aspire to create the conditions for the imaginations to come, and for this, it is also important that we resist the temptation of colonizing time. Chances are that we are not going to get off planet anytime soon, at least not in the shape, form, and quantity that we currently have. Space is both hostile and expensive. So we must do the best with what we have. And this includes creating the room to play, and not only the rules of the game. How can we begin to imagining a world where we don't operate by way of nostalgia, where unlimited growth is not the way to go, where all species get to play in an even field, and where not only those who have access to language get to have a voice? Imaginative work is a set of agency. The Futurological Congress proposes a set of processes and entanglements for thinking about futures. It is itinerant, always situated, and always nomadic. It responds to specific situations in relation to a wider context. Congress, etymologically, refers to the Latin word congredi, together, to come together.
It is in this moment of communal presence where we want to make our minds and bodies work together, to examine the particular present that we are gathered into, and hold site-specific conversations where we speculate and propose narratives and models that can lead to workable and livable collective projects. Picturing possible, probable, preferable, and impossible outcomes, we do not look for statements or even agreement, but rather to produce a space where, if there is conflict, it is a better kind of conflict, where we can foster ideas and let them reverberate across temporalities, instead of working with the concept of the arrow of time and accepting time as an asymmetric, one-way phenomena where the present and past influence the future. We believe in time as a paradox. And the aim of the Futurological Congress is to share, as we said, many futures in order to influence the present and to see if the present manages to shape up. It is a concept, an intention, a structured collective brainstorming to make things happen. It is an invitation to imagine a multiplicity of futures that are interwoven, animal, polysemic, astronomical, indigenous, aquatic, and post-planetary. And it is an invitation to try and fail at imagining the futures that we are not meant to imagine yet.
What is possible and what is probable? The probable results from data analysis as in data-based modeled scenarios, where past constellations are projected into likely futures. To speculate on the possible instead requires observation and the ability to sense and acknowledge changes in past and present instances and to imagine what can be the impact of such changes. Isabel Stengers formulates this approach as, quote, "Staying in trouble is the price we pay if we try to stop thinking of problems in terms of indicator solutions," unquote. In order to move beyond fatalistic anxiety, where the future is a monolithic structure that is already determined, we want to pave the way for open and abundant futures, and for this, the Futurological Congress proposes an approach for new arrangements of playful realities in which the possible can occur.
What is preferable and what is impossible? What is preferable varies greatly depending on individual perspectives, cultural norms, and situational contexts. This already means that the future cannot be produced at scale. It's always contextual, and preferable futures thus make compromise and negotiation essential. The concept of impossibility applies to both the logically impossible, violating fundamental principles of logic or rationality, and the practically impossible, which is beyond current technological, physical, or societal capabilities. This means impossibility is always context-dependent and should be approached with humility and open-mindedness, acknowledging that what is currently deemed impossible may become possible down the line.
Engaging with multiple futures is a process that involves turning matters of concern, like Bruno Latour called them, into matters of care, Maria Puig de la Bella Casa. And this is to acknowledge our entanglement. With Ion Tichy, the time traveler in mind, we want to step beyond the prevailing doom and gloom narratives and instead intend to develop desirable storylines people can hold collectively and jointly act towards. To help these imagined futures to shape, structure, and organize the possibility of a space for action, we reenact relationships between past, present, and futures into socially performative situations. We develop practices that attempt to nurture and enhance our capabilities to create relations or trust to negotiate meanings and knowledges. Through our meetings, we would like to expose the inherent tensions between the notions of future utopias, today's realities, and history's past. We prefer to see these three notions as circular time loops, rather than accepting that the future is only one and that it is only which is ahead of us.
We would like, together with the guests for this instance of the Congress, to interrogate the mechanisms of control, command, and obedience over peoples, bodies, societies, and natures in the name of any ideology, even if this ideology is disguised as an utopia. Our due respect goes to Stanislav Lem for his clear-sighted speculations about what he called Ariadnology, which is the theory of search engines. and phantomatics, which would be his way to call virtual reality. And not to mention his predictions, again, about singularity, bionics, artificial intelligence, and nanotechnology. I think he was dealing with one of those impossibles that became clearly possible over time. And we are extremely excited and humbled by the presence of the amazing people that are taking part in the Congress. The futures are yet to come, and all the adventures are there.
And this is the moment when we would please ask Martina Huber to join us on stage, who is the co-organizer with us for this 5th chapter of the Futurological Congress, The Futures of Care. And this is... your moment.
Thank you very much. A warm welcome as well from my side. And I'm Martina Huber, the founder of We Are Aya Awareness in Art. And with our association, we create spaces to think about the past, present, and the futures. And our work involves creating exhibitions and developing educational programs for schools, always in collaboration with artists and experts at the intersection of art, science, and care. So first, as well, a few organizational things before I start with my speech. So first, thank you, Regula, for the sign language. And I'm wearing a white coat and a black dress, and I have blonde, long hair. And may I ask all the speakers that are going to come after me to describe themselves as well before your speech. And on the other hand, I would like as well to acknowledge that we have a translator, kind of a technical translator for those that are less fluent in English. So over here we have Jasmine Gottstein that organized a congress with us. And please maybe just walk over to her if you would like to use and to stay with her for the topic of translations into German. So für alle, die weniger flüssig sind im Englisch, wir haben einen technischen Übersetzer hier und ihr könnt gerne zu Jasmin Gottstein rübergehen. Sie kann dann euch das Gerät geben und auch mit der Übersetzung helfen in Deutsch. So having this said, the futures of care, what does that mean to me? So this question has been on my mind for some time now, and earlier this year we were sitting together with Mareike and Julieta, and we all felt that the time has come to organize another Futurological Congress to explore the theme of the futures of care together. And a particularly inspiring encounter for me was the artist Michael Herrmann, who works at Atelier Steinzeit and Wolf in der Säule. So his work gave us the impetus to engage more deeply with the concepts of care and inclusion. And although it's a process, we are very grateful for all inputs from the different partner organizations and for making this happen. And we are still learning, but we are together with our partner institutions, Atelier von Wolf in der Säule and Living Museums, Kunsthalle Zurich, the Migros Museum and the Löwenbräu. It has been an ongoing learning process for us, teaching us how vital it is to start a dialogue and sharing experiences and walk this path together. At this point, I would like to express my sincere gratitude as well to Jacqueline Ullmann, the Director of Communications, that will join us here as well, for her invaluable support to organize such quite a big congress. And Jasmin Gottstein that is here, that helped us through all our adventures before we arrived here, and Sophia Jackson that is working with me as well. And as well to Daniel Stauffacher, that is the board of the president of our board of our association, that helps us as well to make sure that we are able to organize more of these congresses, like to organize our friends of AI, our donors, and help us with the funding. And as well the Migros Museum, Pro Helvetia, and the Max Kohler Foundation for their ongoing support mentally and as well financially. For those attending today, there is a caring space as a safe space in Migros Museum where you're able to take a moment to rest if needed. And during the workshop that will happen from 4 to 6, there is another space available. So just walk over to Jasmine and she can guide you to the space. So above all, it means caring. For me, it means forming connections, fulfilling commitments, and moving through the world with an open heart. Being here with all of you today shows us the full potential and opportunity to see the possible within the seemingly impossible. Recently, I received a book on indigenous wisdom as a gift, and in it, the poet and Pulitzer Prize winner Natalie Diaz, a member of the Mojave people in California, writes about the importance of gathering and coming together. She describes Matakiev, an annual assembly, a meeting, to discuss their concerns and strengthen their community. I see our meeting here in Switzerland as a continuation of that spirit, a space for exchange, listening, and action. A thought from Natalie Diaz that resonates deeply within me is, my autonomy exists only in relation to the people and the world around me. But forming relationships is not always easy. Language plays a crucial role in this, not just as an intellectual language, but also physical and emotional expression. I hope that together we can create a safe space here to listen, learn from each other, and engage in meaningful discussions. I invite each of you to take a moment to reflect on your intentions for being here. Why have you come here today? What do you hope to take away, to carry back into the world? Let us come together at the end of the Congress to reflect on whether these intentions have been fulfilled. I look forward to walking this path with you and for the conversations ahead. And I'm thanking all our participants and all of you for being here and being here with us on that journey. Thank you. May I ask Jacqueline Ullmann to join us as well for a moment, please?
Hello everyone, I'm Jacqueline Ullmann. I have blonde hair and brown-green eyes and wearing blue jeans and a black jacket. Yes, welcome everyone here. I'm very happy and also very proud to have you all here for this 2 days Congress. I want to thank you especially Mareike, Julieta and Martina for engaging me and contacting me to serve here with Löwenbräukunst as a platform for this dialogue. I want to also thank you Daniel Baumann from Kunsthalle and the Migros Museum, Tasnim, and of course schwarzescafé. It's very important here at Löwenbräu that we serve as a platform and that we work all together and that we join forces to talk about these important questions. So I'm happy and I wish you 2 inspiring days. It's going to be intense when I look at the program. And I want to give the microphone now to Julieta and have a good 2 days.